Alright, so Sultai Dredge. Dredge, for those not familiar, is an archetype that refers to, or Dredge, not archetype, Dredge is, it is an archetype too. Dredge is a mechanic that refers to, Dredge is a mechanic that takes cards from the top of your deck and puts them into your graveyard. So in Magic, self-mill archetypes, so Ashiok, for example, puts 4 cards in our bin. Stitcher Supplier puts 3 cards in our bin twice. Merfolk Secretkeeper puts 4 cards in our bin. Self-mill archetypes are frequently referred to as dredge decks in Magic using the jargon. So, what is this deck looking to do when it fills up its graveyard? So, we've got obviously the Titan of Nature's Wrath here that can escape from our graveyard to be replaying from that perspective. We've got a new card here out of Zendikar, Skyclave Shade. Lets you recast it from your bin whenever a land comes into play under your control. Notably, this can be kicked as well from your bin. So if you have 5 mana after you make that land drop, it can be brought back as a 5/3. We've got Silversmote Ghoul, which says the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, return it to the battlefield. So Silversmote Ghoul comes back when you escape Uro. It also comes back when you hit Creeping Chill here. So a kind of nut straw with this deck is if you Merfolk Secretkeeper yourself on 1, you could theoretically hit 3 Silversmote Ghoul and a Creeping Chill to put 9 power into play on the first turn of the game. Obviously, that's an absurd high roll, but that is like kind of what the nut ceiling is that you're kind of going for here. We also have Demonic Embrace here to give +3/+1, and you can cast this from the bin. I put a basic land over here because, as you can see from my overlay, the chat blocks this card. So rather than creating a second OBS scene that's a little bit better laid out for the deck tech, I just move a card over here that doesn't really matter so you can see all of the actual spells. How do we deal with Cage? Drawn a Cage Answer on the board? That's a good question. There are 0 answers to Cage in our sideboard. Let's fix that really quick. Good catch. Oh, the person who sent me this said, Rhino said, what did they say? They said something about swapping the Bontu to the sideboard. Needs Languish, not Bontu. That makes sense. Because Languish doesn't kill our Uros. We're playing Arena? Yeah, every day, Rigazoo. As always, my schedule with not only when I'm live, but what I'm planning to stream when can be found up on my website. Yep, sign me up. Got Merfolk Secretkeeper here and Triton to start flipping cards into the bin. So Historic, basically, Mini-Modern doesn't have cards that Modern does. It has cards that Modern doesn't. So Historic, for people that aren't familiar, is kind of unique in Magic because not only will it, as far as Magic formats go, because not only will Historic continue to grow forward as Magic prints new sets, but it also grows backwards. So a few times per year, they release what they call historic anthologies, which are 15 to 30 cards from Magic's history that they print directly into the format for purposes of balance sometimes, or just sweet cards that they think could be good for the format. So there are cards in Historic currently that are not legal in Modern. There's cards that aren't legal in Pioneer. Yes, Trigazu. So they announced they were lame ducking standard, so I pulled standard from my schedule. I did not pull magic altogether. Plenty of historic submissions to explore. And honestly, I've often said, well, I think Runeterra's core gameplay is something I definitely enjoy a lot. Magic's greatest strength as a card game is variety of play modes. So even when standard feels kind of bad, it's not that big of a deal if you can go play another format. Ashiok is great here. So something to note about Ashiok's templating is that regardless of who you mill, Ashiok always exiles your opponent's graveyard. So we play Ashiok to mill ourselves, to fill our graveyard up, but it still exiles our opponent's bench. This is a good anti-Uro card here too. Honestly, it's possible we want a 4th copy of this in the sideboard as an anti-graveyard card. Yeah, and that's actually what Dude Light said there is part of the problem with Magic's designs from the last year is that Magic pushed the power level up so much that you couldn't escape the designs that were punishing in Standard in any of these other formats. They just rippled out across all of them because they were so good. I don't know what Ogre Battle Driver is, so... Is that one of those arena-only cards? Maybe all of those aren't legal. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I thought those were legal, but I guess there's a chance they're not. I'm actually gonna wait a turn to cast this, because I have a 5th land in hand. So when I play the 5th land next turn, I can cast this with Kicker. Cards with the A on them are only legal in Arena Best of 1 formats. That's really stupid. Yeah, we should be playing 4 Ashioks. We gained 3 life from Creeping Shells, so Silversmote Ghoul gets to come back here. Fairly one-sided game to start the day. Opponent did not accomplish a lot. Hey, Roaring Rubber Ducky, thanks for the brand new Prime support. I appreciate that. Welcome to Oglandia. Thanks for keeping me around and shipping your Bezo bucks this way this month. Okay, opponent's playing Teamer. I probably don't need to worry about Cage out of their deck because it looks like they're an Uro deck as well. Aether Gust is probably better than Bloodchief's Thirst against whatever they have going on, I would imagine. Any actual lands are in our deck? We have 20 lands. If I get Hagra Mauling, it's probably a little bit worse than Thirst. This is 25 resources. So, like, these are land spell split cards. So, like, the spell's not great. I think I want to keep some of them for the land aspect of it. Ancient Green Warden's probably slow. I'm going to leave a couple of Bloodchief Thirsts in. If I had another Ashiok, I'd board it in here, and I think I want another one of those in the 75. Yeah, just that after this set. My opponent's Omnath deck in Standard is main decking Red Cat melee. Always a sure sign of health. Yeah, like, for the period in time where Nexus of Fate was banned in Best of 1 but was legal in Best of 3, the number of people that were constantly confused why the decks weren't legal was definitely something. Yeah, the dual-sided lands definitely impact how you sideboard a good bit. Depending on how greedy you are with your actual mana base. Like, we played Big Red last night with spell lands for the first time, and we only had 16 actual lands in it, so we had to leave spell lands in it almost every game, obviously. Gosh, this game would be so good with the black source. Yeah, this is fine, right? We're gonna bottom Mauling here. Maybe bottoming Mauling is greedy. It was my third land, technically. Might have been right to bottom Uro, honestly. Zoom Mulligan, Magic Rider just for Arena. It's Magic Wide. They are a Grafdigger's Cage deck. Yikes. So, this largely just turns off our deck, and I assumed they were an Uro deck so they wouldn't be playing Cage. Obviously a bad assumption. It's good. It's a good, clean, non-rotating format curve there. So, obviously, if we don't limp through this game, we're gonna end up boarding in Maelstrom Pulse. That's fine. We'll up a game. We're up a game. We'll get him game 3 on the play. Hopefully they just die in however many turns to these things. I think our Creeping Chill still work from this, right? Because that's a triggered ability. Will stop everything else from happening from the graveyard, but does not stop Creeping Chill at least. Doesn't stop Demonic Embrace. It does. It says players can't cast spells from libraries. And this says you may cast it from your graveyard. Alright, so I think we're on the hold up Aether Gust plan for the rest of the game. So they must have some other interaction in hand. Hopefully they don't sweep us here. Good thing to note is that we're dead. We're dead. Is that the good thing to note? I think we've died. It's looking bad for here. The swings are intense, chat. So Scavangling Ooze here gets to exile a bunch of cards from our graveyard and get bigger and gain life while it does so. That being said, Aether Gust here can at least push this out of the way so we can get an attack in. So we could theoretically kill them next turn, right? I could Aether Gust this, draw a land, and then hit some Creeping Chills. Obviously that didn't happen. I mean, to be fair, Wolfie, games of Magic like what we're currently playing have existed for a very, very long time. Like this type of gameplay is like, almost verbatim like, modern circa 2015, right? Like where sideboard cards are important and you need to draw your anti-hate cards for their hate cards. Alright, 2 Creeping Chills, please. Rats. Reminds me of Extended. Extended was technically a rotating format, though, right? Is an important distinction. Alright, I'm gonna trim Demonic Embrace, and these Bloodchief Thirst, and a Mauling, and bring in these 4 Pulses, because these not only take Grafdigger's Cage out of play, but also hit a variety of other things. I think Historic has a lot of potential, though. Like I said, I think Magic's history and its deep card pool is one of its greatest strengths, and Historic and the way they're sculpting it and shaping it by adding cards from Magic's history in addition to newer cards to it really feels like they've identified that and are trying to leverage that in their digital platform well. I think if they do it well, Historic could be a home to a bunch of iconic Magic cards that just aren't strong enough in some of the other established on-rotating formats. Like, there's a ton of sweet cards in both Modern and Legacy that are really awesome designs, but they're just not powerful enough to compete with what goes on in those formats. Easy mulligan here with triple Creeping Chill to start. Yeah, that hand sounds good. Yes, they have, Robbot. So, Historic's release cycle plans are, we're going to get Kaladesh remastered before the end of the year. And then Q1 2021, we will get a 4th Historic anthology, are the plans that they've put forward. Ooh, that's a good thought, Gengar. Standard is off the menu because Wizards of the Coast posted their typical vague, something's going to be banned next week, but we're not saying what. So, they've lame ducked their standard format till Monday again. Nah, so I switched my streaming rig from Linux to Windows a few months back, and I never bothered to try and get my frame switcher tool to run on Windows, so it's always blue-red now. No Silversmotes. We can play this, though, which lets us cast this. I should get a lame duck emote. That's a good idea. Yeah, I like Ashiok's design a lot, too. It's a very, very sweet card. They just Essence Scattered my Shade. Deal. Welcome to the party, Silversmote Ghoul. Make yourself at home. Technically missequencing here. Should have pulsed this before down-ticking on Ashiok. I guess playing this out's pretty free, too. I have the spare mana. Was my reasoning behind switching to Windows? I was having some kind of connection issue with my network stack on my Linux configuration, and I just didn't have time to debug it. My connection was just like sporadically dropping to 0 and then coming back up right away, which would disrupt my stream. So, doing different variety game segments a little bit easier on Windows too, but that was the thing that finally pushed me over the edge to flip back over, was the networking issues. With the global pandemic that's currently going on outside, I have a lot less free time than I used to because I have 3 small children at home. We now have to dedicate some extra time to without daycare or school type stuff for them to attend. So basically work and family are the 2 things that exist right now. There's a lot of time for extra spare projects like debugging Linux issues. You have slain my Ashiok. Yeah, after they essence scattered our land drop creature, I'm kind of surprised Uro resolved. I mean, it was global. Yeah, at one point it was definitely global. Man, are we gonna get combo killed? I'm gonna strap a Curiosity on this bad boy and mess us up next turn. Here are pandemic spikes again. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the reality is, like, most places are going to continue to have spikes off and on as long as we don't have a vaccine available. So, Curiosity was a card printed in Jumpstart that combo kills with Nip Visit, because Curiosity is an enchant creature that says whenever you draw a card, deal a damage, and this says whenever you deal damage, draw a card, and this is whenever you draw a card, deal a damage. And we're dead. So I'll let them show the loop a couple of times here, and then I'll concede without making them click it. So they draw a card, they get to deal a damage, the damage triggers the draw card on Curiosity, and they loop this 20 some odd times till we die. So, not going to make my opponent click through that, but we'll show a couple iterations here for chat. Neat, Y-Sticks. You get to kill while drawing cards. Said I wanted to put another Ashiok in here, he said while waiting for a server. I think this Green Warden's just too cute. Trying to draw a random 6-drop seems silly. Ashiok's just easily our best enable. Milling 20 is great. Yeah, this looks fine. So, Hinterland Harbor notably coming into play tapped off this swamp. So we're going to play Harbor tapped on 1, and then turn 2 we can go Swamp, Mill. Okay, we hit Creeping Chill And a Silversmote Ghoul. We just kill that with Bloodchief's Thirstier Rate so we can get attacking. Also prevents them from drawing some cards. Our classic basic swamp Uro deck in action here. I mean, if your thoughts about whether or not the drug is working impact the drug working, it probably means the drug doesn't work, right? Because, like, if you think you got the placebo and the drug actually works, the drug shouldn't care about your feelings, right? That's not how science works. That's the point of placebos and control groups. Thank you for doomblading my thing that comes back. Patients who think the drug works see significant... Is that... Do you have a study that links that, Innuendo? I mean, like, that seems like some nonsense, right? It's just like some power of positive thinking, mumbo jumbo, pseudo-science nonsense. Yeah, that's also true too. Placebos, you should ideally have a significantly large sample size, so that way you can balance out impacts of things like that. So make me think about those energy necklaces people wear. I mean, there is definitely value in people thinking they feel better. Playing against Abzan stuff. I think we basically always board in Maelstrom Pulse in this deck, because people are likely to have Cage. What do we want to trim? I don't really know what our filler cards are in this archetype. I've been trimming a Mauling. I don't think I want to go lower than 24 lands, though. So, like, these are, like, uncuttable because these are lands. So I need 2 more trims here. Trim a Bloodthirst and a Creeping Chill. Hey, I see it looks good. I have not, Stigall. I don't follow much Modern. Although a Kiki Core deck list did come across my feed the other day that made me feel things. Standard comment about length of subscription. 60 months, Tumos. 61 months. One of the OGs. I should probably... I'm glad you had that first icon next to your name there, because I don't actually have a 60-month sub icon. I guess that means if you reset it, it's still the castle. I guess I should reach out to my graphics person and get a dragon head done up. There's going to be some people that don't have the first icon that'll be 60-month sub soon. Gosh, it's wild to think I've been streaming for that long. Because, like, obviously I wasn't partnered as soon as I started streaming. So, like, I've been streaming for, like, 6.5, 7 years now. I think I'm putting this into play as a land instead of cycling it. If you ever want to blast for the past, digging through some of my old content on YouTube, you can see the notable increase in not only like overlay quality and my ability to interact with chat, but also equipment quality. Some of my microphone quality in some of those older streams is real bad. There wasn't any RTX voice, that's true. I'm holding on to this to play as a spell, I think, as opposed to playing it as land. That's true. The segments from... So, I've been partnered for over 5 years now, but, I've been partnered for over 5 years now, but I've only been doing this as a job for like 2.5, 3 years. So those first 2 years, there were a lot of, we're going to take a quick break and change this diaper in between these turns or during sideboarding. What's a good one? Was it Hyper Geo? Is this one of my old... Does that link still work? October 14th, 2016. So 4 years ago with a crappier headset. Yeah, so that's a good old one to click into that actually still has a relevant concept that's worth learning. Seven cards in the bin. Yeah, we're just escaping Ura again here. I guess I could Bala and pick back up the Ashiok. Yeah, I'm gonna do that actually. My opponent's fair mid-range deck, not faring particularly well against my graveyard value deck. The old Hex TCG card frame in that video. Who's doing the voiceover in that video? Is that conversational, Jeff? It's probably conversational, Jeff.
Hi, my name is Jeff Hoagland, and welcome to my first video talking about mathematics and...
Yeah, that's definitely... That's late night. There's probably a child sleeping near me, Jeff. Was frequently the situation in the older videos. Bala, thank you for the tier 3 and the 2.5 years of support. I really appreciate that. Welcome back. Neat innuendo. The power of positive thinking. More than just BS, I suppose. Otts, thanks to 11 months. Welcome back. Sing you a song. We have two Silversmote Ghouls in my bin. What's the goal of this deck? I mean, are you watching the game we're currently playing? I guess that would be my question to you. What does this deck do? Viewer says idly while watching the deck do what it's intended to do. It's intended to make fair Abzan opponents very sad about their life choices. You just joined? Alright, well now you're gonna make me call you out, because it very clearly says here in chat that you posted a message 12 minutes ago, and you've been following for 21 minutes, which probably means you've seen a chunk of the deck play. God bless you, Twitch Tattletales. He lies. It lies. Welcome to Oaklandia. Hopefully you can take a little fun poking, otherwise this probably isn't a good channel for you. I think, so it's funny. So people aren't familiar with my background. I have a master's degree in mathematics. I spent some time teaching at a few different colleges. I student taught in a high school during my undergrad degree, and I was a certified high school teacher, but never actually ended up going on to teach high school. And in large part of the reason why I decided I didn't want to teach high school was because, man, interacting with a lot of parents really sucked. I think my favorite conversations with parents of high school students were definitely the "Why did you fail my student?" Why did you fail my son? My son or daughter or whoever. And it's like, well, I didn't fail your student failed your student. I don't give them grades, they just get what they earn. Correct. And that was why I actually really like teaching. And like, nobody goes into teaching for the money because we don't pay teachers what they're worth in the United States. So like, I was teaching because I loved doing it. And like, the great part about teaching college was when a parent came up to you and was like, how's my child doing in your class? You just get to be like, I'm not legally allowed to tell you that. There's some forms they could fill out if you'd like me to tell you that, but take it up with them. Good morning, girls.
Dad, Chet has missed me. It's been a few days.
Been a few days since the princess was here. Hello. How are you doing, baby girl? Are you having a good morning with your mom and brothers?
Are you guys talking about schools?
We are talking about schools, yep. Because I just called someone out in chat and they said I went full teacher mode. For those of you that are new, this is Haley and my lovely wife. Haley is 3 months old. She's in charge of the house right now.
Speaking of teachers, so Jake's in one-on-one with one of the teachers, and they're doing some activity, but she's like has pictures of things, and she holds up a cat, and he's like, it's a duck. And then the next one is a frog, and he calls it a cat. It's not because he doesn't know what the animals are, it's because he thinks he's funny, and he really is funny. And then there was a pizza, and instead of calling it pizza, he called it a chicken hot dog.
You are crushing those neck exercises. Chat notices how stable you are, baby girl. Growing on up. Oh, getting a little shaky. We'll play out the Merfolk Secretkeeper here, because that gives us kind of a fun body to put Demonic Embrace on. Hey, thanks for the happy year, MTG Riz. I appreciate that. Welcome back.
He's got great control.
I think, again, we're just boarding in a bunch of Maelstrom Pulse, assuming that my opponent's going to have some graveyard hate here. I think that's just in the dark. This is what we board in, assuming most people are going to have some kind of enchantment or artifact-based graveyard hate. Whoop. We're okay. Dad's got you. That was an unnecessary timeout, Green Sky. We could. If we could put, give Gorbak their ability to chat back. So, Wizards hasn't confirmed they're banning anything anywhere, but they did their very general, ominous, something's going to change next week, without telling us what it was, because Wizards of the Coast doesn't believe in communicating with their viewers.
Missed a sub, how dare you?
I missed a sub. Oh, Gargantuan, thank you for the 22 months. Wizards believes in treating Magic players like mushrooms. You gotta keep us in the dark and feed us a constant stream of bullshit. That's my favorite part about babies. I can swear, because you can't pick it up yet. Your brothers, I gotta be more careful.
You know what I know, Dad?
Not yet. Another year or two before you can repeat stuff. You are really really sitting up good. I was about to compliment you and you decided to try and lean back, huh?
Aw, look, Haley, you're making the other people want babies too. Because you're so perfect.
Are we playing this as a land? Probably not. I think the ability to pick Pulse or Ashiok up here sounds good. You're very cute, and you're teal in your flowers. All right, there's a Maelstrom Pulse, so I think we're just gonna cantrip Uro for now. See where we go with that.
Chat thinks you're gonna.
She's fine. I got my arm back behind her here, chat. I wish I could get praise for mostly having control of my neck and head. You got my finger in your iron grip?
Hey, beautiful.
You got your father's hairline? Don't worry, you'll grow out of that, I think.
I need Chat's jealous that you don't praise them for being able to hold their heads up.
Why don't I ever hold your head? Asking the real questions. That is a Scarab God. So, getting kind of punished here for not prioritizing picking the Ashiok back up. And, like, my graveyard is full of goodies for them now. This card continues bouncing back up to their hand here, so... Huh? I think we're just dead at this point, right? Like, gonna bury me with my own Mire Triton and stuff, so next time we'll prioritize getting Ashiok back. Opponent conceded the last game early, so we didn't really know what they were doing, so didn't realize that that was a card we were playing around. I think Thoughtseize is probably a card I'm interested in, rather than Bloodchief Thirst, if Scarab God's something I need to deal with. Just can pull it out of their hand, which is nice.
Can I have my baby back?
You want your baby back?
I really just don't want to stand in your office and watch you play Madden.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back. Haley, baby girl, we love the Haley baby girl. Haley Q sauce. You're gonna have to experience a lot of songs like that growing up. I would apologize, but I'm not sorry. This hand has a black source and a green source. It's probably fine. You should write jingles. I mean, most of my songs are just like bad parodies of other songs. I'm pretty sure to write jingles you need original thoughts. I'm supposed to lead on Skyclave here. They only need to be original enough to not get shut down before the ad has some time to work. Ah, capitalism. Nailed it. Ashiok here, even neuters search for Azcanta because it keeps their graveyard empty. Hey, nice pseudo panda. The co-op in Portal 2 has been really sweet too. I've been playing that off stream with Declan. We're through the first two parts of it. Has a completely different story and gameplay, which is neat. Definitely planning to finish Portal 2 next week. And now we get to go ahead and pulse the Scarab God, and he doesn't come back till the beginning of the end step. So now I get to Ashiok down tick, and I will get rid of him, which is great. You'll return nothing. Pretty far away from escaping Uro here currently. I have a swamp in play, so I need 2 more blue-green lands. Boo! Fingers crossed we just high roll 2 creeping chills here. Rats.
Overwhelming.
So I assume their Skoos is going to kill Ashiok here.
I have practiced against many foes like you. With thoughtfulness before action.
Okay. So if they attack Ashiok here, they're dead to a Creeping Chill. So we get 3 shots of Creeping Chill with this.
I've lost my appetite.
Okay, if 2 of them in here. That'll do big. Yeah, I agree, Agako. Like, people often, like, Magic's too big to fail is definitely the case. Like, arena formats being a bit of a mess, like, is like pretty far from the end all be all. You submitted a bad deck. It's been fine so far, Rhino. To set a low bar, I don't even think this is the worst deck I've played this week. Our Dredge deck gets hosed by multiple pieces of Graveyard Hate, is like kind of to be expected. Comes with the territory. Well, I mean, we'd prefer those come with Silversmote Ghoul, but it is what it is. What do I think of Historic right now? Well, the next Hoaglandia Open tournament will be Historic, and we intend to use a modified ban list for it. So that'll probably should tell you most of what I think of the format. So for the next Open, we will be banning Uro, Muxus, and Claim the Firstborn from our tournament. Sad control player. Thanks for the 28 months. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm interested to see how the next Open pans out too. The next Open, both participation amount and the amount of viewers will dictate whether or not we continue to do house bans. I mean, there's always going to be a best deck, chat. That's just how it works. What's the problem with Claim the Firstborn? If you'd like to read my logic for banning things, I'd encourage you to read my article here on my website. Unlike Wizard of the Coast, I believe in clearly communicating with my players and explaining what my goals are, what I'm trying to accomplish. Yeah, we ran into it. We played Rogues last night in Historic, and definitely a lot of graveyard-based decks in this format that don't feel great to be milling. I mean, under those conditions, sure, Smash Jacks, but they wouldn't, and I doubt the pay is decent. The reason you pick Saturday over Sunday, yeah, Saturday coverage tends to be more popular. Basically, my plan is if there's an SCG or other major tournament on Saturday, our events will be on Sunday. How's one? Register to play in the event. The requirements to play in the event are that you are subscribed to my channel on Twitch, and then you pay the entry fee on what's it called? On Melee. And then the other condition is you also need to be able to broadcast your matches on Discord. So the purpose of the Open Series is to provide great coverage for the events. So you need to be able to share your screen on Discord upon request. Pop-up blocker required. We prefer you share just your arena window as opposed to your whole desktop. What about bathrooms in the background? Watsy. Alright, so Bloodchief Thirst, obviously great. Probably just a Maelstrom Pulse in matchup again in case they have things like Cage. I imagine they do. Mire Triton doesn't really block here. They're mostly flying things. Well, so I think something that's important to point out is I think there's key philosophical differences between what I'm banning for our house bans for the Open and how Wizards manages their formats. So Wizards, from the outside looking in, seems like they only try to ban cards if that card has an erroneous power level. Whereas, like, I'm definitely banning Muxus and Uro for that reason, but Claim the Firstborn's a little bit more nuanced, right? Like, my intention behind banning Claim the Firstborn is to explicitly try and create more archetype diversity. Because I think Claim the Firstborn does a lot in this format to make small creature decks really struggle against a number of the top decks in the format. Yeah, and honestly, and I've talked about this on stream before, I think the types of decks that Claim the Firstborn is really good against, I think those are the types of decks you want to be good in Magic. I think Magic is a better game when small creature aggro decks are more competitive. Some of the best standard format in the last 2 years or so was good in large part because small creature aggro was really playable. Guilds of Ravnica and RNA standard, red aggro with Experimental Frenzy, and white aggro with History of Benalia were two of the headlining decks in those formats, and a big part of why those formats were good was because those types of decks were good. When small creature aggro is good, mid-range is more playable. Yeah, I agree, Nocti. Cards are definitely sums of their parts, and like if there weren't a bunch of cheap sacrifice outlets, claim wouldn't be as powerful. But I also don't think you can reasonably ban all of those. I'm gonna go ahead and just pulse this. Vampires was competitive later, right? Vampires didn't really rise to power level / competitiveness until the core set came out over the summer. Because if you remember, the summer core set was basically vampires versus Field of the Dead. But I also think that format was pretty reasonable too. Yeah, Sorin was in the core set. Nice, Wargy. Well, that reminds me, we have multiple Shillionaires. I should create a Shillionaires Discord channel. I don't know how much it'll get used, but it can be fancy and we can say it's there. That reminds me, did Terran Terror, are you here? Are you on the Discord? I don't think I ever added you to the roles. I did not. I'm so bad at this. Roles. Shillionaire. Check. Look at that. I completely forgot. Multiple Shillionaires? I mean, of course there's multiple Shillionaires. It's basic trickle-down Shillonomics. That once there's one Shillionaire, everybody else will follow. Come on now. Ashiok self-mill before land drops. Yes. Yes, I should.
Remember, your nightmares
Should lower the cost of Shillionaire by 1 shill each time it's redeemed. That's actually kind of a funny idea. Our small creature deck probably cannot beat Claim the Firstborn. Claim the Firstborn and Mayhem Devil slaughter decks like what we're playing. Wow, look at this shade our opponent is throwing at us, chat. Let's just read. Alright, let the Uro escaping commence. Our Dredge deck seems to be very good against people trying to play fair Magic, chat. Entrancing Melody's a weird card to have in their deck. I feel like you'd rather just have actual removal. Morning Lincoln. Tankmaster, if you're gonna ask questions in chat, I'd encourage you to be paying attention for when I respond to them. You posted that same message twice now, and I answered it the first time. To give you an answer one more time, I think our deck is very bad against Claim the Firstborn decks. We also have a ton of X1s, which makes us kind of mediocre against Mayhem Devil. Gosh, Armina's awkward. No Silversmote Ghoul to go with that one, unfortunately. No, I don't think so, Tankmaster. There really isn't counterplay to getting your stuff claimed the Firstborn. In fact, the mana base has been real awkward in here. I'm gonna fix it up. I didn't realize, I imported this morning. This got submitted late last night, so I didn't get a chance to spot check it. There should definitely be more Shocklands in our mana base. I'm gonna get that fixed. We have way too many, buddy lands. Go up shocks, especially with the pathways. I like the pathways over some of the Watery Graves because they're untapped and don't hurt us, but I think with the pathways instead of our Watery Graves, these buddy lands become a lot less nice. Yeah, this is good. Plenty of colors of mana. Self-mill on 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I agree, Tankmasters. That's in fact one of the reasons why I'm banning Claim the Firstborn from the event, because I think Claim the Firstborn is a card that, like, oppresses a lot of different archetypes and doesn't offer them meaningful counterplay. I think the format's likely a healthier place without it. It might be right to play Ashiok this turn to play around another discard. I also maybe should have prioritized putting my non-swamps into play first, so I'd have an easier time escaping Uro. Also likely the case. This at least enables my ghoul. Hey, Green Ridge, thank you for the sub-gifties. I really appreciate that. Hope your stream the other day went well. Let's make sure you have a mod sword when you're here. So you can always chat.
Don't care about your plans.
Why aren't you murder? Or why aren't you Hero's Downfall? Yeah, it's possible the basic swamp is wrong. I could see that. I think Hagra Mauling is fine. Hagra Mauling. But yeah, cutting the swamp for like another Watery Grave is probably smart. Neckfire, thank you for the 13 months. I appreciate it. Stream Decker not updated. I believe I just updated it. Yeah, it's current now.
We're doing things my way.
I mean, we have Forest and Island in our deck. I have Silversmote in the bin, so we can hit Creeping Chill here. Actually, I probably just want a Demonic Embrace, huh? Embrace triggers Waste Not. Yeah, it does.
This was a wasted opportunity.
Morden Jordan. Yep, catching us towards the tail end of our stream for this morning. Be on for another 20 minutes, half hour or so. I've been enjoying the split schedule though as well. Big agree. Oh, feels Dredge, man. Feels Dredge, man. Are we dead this turn? Almost. Take here, take 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we're dead. Yeah, if this swamp had been a Watery Grave, we'd have won that game, right? If swamp had been Watery Grave there, we'd have been able to escape Uro and just bury them. We'll probably play at least one more match after this one, unless this takes forever, so we'll make that swap out for the last one. No, this is a viewer submission. The decks we play are a pretty even split between, even a lot of the times when I build decks, there's still viewer submissions, so I do a number of what I call build-around submissions. So if you look in the deck queue, for example, right now, Stormcaller Neoform is a viewer submission, but like, we have Angel of Destiny, Oops All Spells, Leyrine Tyrant, Conundrum. There's a bunch of things in there waiting for me to build them. They're viewer ideas, but I'll still be the one putting the details together best I can. Yeah, it's not only reasonable for business, but helps keep me more entertained in general, too. Croakies is a machine. I don't know how he... You have to... I can't handle sitting and playing the same deck constantly all day. I like having lots of things to bounce around too. My brain was never like a best deck style player, though. Even when I played a lot of competitive paper Magic, it was largely playing bad decks and brews. He's a machine, man. He's good at what he does. What are we getting rid of here? I think it's just Uro. We have a zombie. Start with this and see where we go. I mean, not even to just to not make light of, you know, people who have various real disorders, like just like variety's the spice of life. It has nothing to do with my ability to focus on something. Like, I can focus on something for a long amount of time, but that doesn't mean it's enjoyable. I mean, to be fair, if I didn't have a wife and kids, I'd probably be live a whole lot more during the pandemic, too. There's not a whole lot to do right now. A lot of my time off stream is spent doing school stuff or playing games with the kids. I'm happy with how we boarded. Yeah, nothing wrong with it at all. It's good to see people enjoy things. We're bottoming Mauling here. Boo! Boo this opponent! Boo! Alright, we'll take a couple of draw steps of Maelstrom Pulse before we concede. This is why you always board in 4 Pulse, by the way. This right here. We are a real non-rotating format. You're not wrong. It's a real shame the new crab is only opponent, so you can't use it to self-mill like the other crab. Alright, let's get this swamp for Watery Grave, and we'll play one more. We would have won that match if I didn't have a basic swamp in my deck game 1. Would have definitely taken it if we would have been able to escape our Uro. But the cursed basic swamp prevented us from doing so. Ah, the Amonkhet board, given away by the fact that the sound turns up at the opening sequence. Yeah, this looks good. I think I want to just play my 3/1s out here to get pressure going. Making a release-ready joke at this point seems redundant. You're not wrong, Bob. And this bug, what I want to know too is, Bob, like, this audio bug has been present for more than one patch now. So, like, whatever the issue is, it obviously must be complicated enough that they couldn't fix it easily. Or they just don't care. In either event, it's not a good look. I think we're just killing this, right? They're probably a pretty low threat density deck. Yeah, it's fair, Bob. I guess this is like, this bug technically qualifies as a cosmetic bug, I would imagine. It technically doesn't impact gameplay. Gonna play some 3/1s out. Maybe I should have played this as a 5/3. Could have kicked this. If the Stitcher Supplier hits Uro, we're 1 card off of escaping it as is. What's the saying? 99 little bugs in the code, 99 little bugs, take one down, patch it around, 123 bugs in the code. Maybe I'm not supposed to... Maybe I'm not supposed to Stitcher Supplier there, because I don't have a 3rd black, so if I don't Stitcher Supplier, I could have gone tapped Breeding Pool, make a 5/3. That's probably better. We take walks around the neighborhood. We also are blessed with a fairly large backyard. We live in central Illinois, surrounded by cornfields, so land is fairly cheap. My house is large on a decent sized piece of property for fairly low amounts of money. Yeah, and this is my mistake catching back up to bite me, right? Like if I would have cast this with Kicker from the graveyard last turn, we'd be attacking for lethal right now, right? And now I can't. So what's the play? We attack for 7, and then we're going to pick Merfolk Secretkeeper back up out of our graveyard and mill ourselves 4 to try and hit a Creeping Chill. So we've hit 0 Creeping Chills so there's 4 chills and 44 cards right now. So not terrible odds. That's the Hyper Geo on that. How unlucky were we, chat? 44, 4 successes, sample size 4. We were 33% to hit there, so not too unlucky. "50-50, either you hit or you don't." Cling to Dust actually sounds good against their Phoenixes. Ashiok's great, obviously. Mauling's okay. Bloodchief Thirst seems slow. It takes 4 mana to kill both Phoenix and their 3/3. Mire Triton doesn't really block. Probably a trim. Let's try this. I would assume their Phoenix deck isn't playing Cage, but I guess we keep this. It's a 2-lander with some castable spells and some disruption. Yeah, I agree. This card's great. We played 3 or 4 copies of this in Big Red last night. Felt very, very reasonable there. So, missing our 3rd land drop feels a little bad, but we got more power to add to the table at least. Yeah, I think Shade's a super reasonable card. I would expect if they got Uro like they should in Standard, this will be a card they'll probably see play in that format too. It's a pretty good value card. Yeah. How's this deck been? It's been okay. It's had pretty typical, like, calling it a Dredge deck feels on point because it's had pretty typical Dredge deck problems. Like, we're getting hosed by hate cards and sideboard stuff.
Behold, my epilogue of
fear. The gods are not happy with our Shades, chat. Alright, no birds yet. Yeah, kinda counts. So we'd love an untapped black source here so we can Bloodchief's Thirst. Yes, the classic Anger of the Gods Phoenix deck on the other side of the board. We took a lot of actions to get our 3-1, chat. Many game actions were had. This Ghoul was the result. These don't really do anything here. Hey, Dr. Jack. Thanks for the 18 months. I appreciate it. Welcome back. That's probably a fair assessment. We did a lot of work to end up with this 3-1 in play. Our payoff's definitely been on the low side here for the cards that we've been playing so far. Yeah, we're pretty dead here. Overall, this deck was kind of kind of a mediocre power level, all things considered. We won some amount of games on the back of Uro being a good card. Skyclave Shade coming back a few times was fine. We lost some games to the mana base that we slowly improved over the course of the games that we played, but you know, at the base level, I think if no one was playing Graveyard Hate in the format, this deck would be okay. That being said, there's a lot of people playing a lot of different pieces of Graveyard Hate in this format, especially things like Grafdigger's Cage, because of how powerful things like Goblins are. So I don't think the power level of what this deck is doing is really competitive when it's forced to bump up against constant pieces of hate cards from the various opponents. So I think I would, I don't think this is one I'd really recommend. I'm kind of doing something novel with the graveyard aspect, but you just get hosed by too many hate cards that people are playing. Yeah, a lot of Bob's assessment is right. It's a lot of individually weak cards that are trying to be strong based on having synergies with each other, and the hate cards are powerful, and that's just not good enough. You get picked apart. Hey, good games just gifted. Good luck in the rest of your laddering today. Yeah, we hit Mythic most seasons with fewer decks. Getting to Mythic and, like, doing well on the Mythic ladder, like, there's a certain amount of skill that you need, but, like, part of it is just the volume that I play, too, right? Like, I play an hour and a half to 3 hours most days, and, like, just by virtue of being an okay player paired with playing an okay amount, we're bound to get through with some consistency. All right, for folks that are new, thanks for dropping by the channel today. For my existing viewers or anybody that enjoyed it and is looking for more Hoaglandia, remember I'm doing my split schedule now, so I'm signing off for the afternoon. I'm gonna go do some schoolwork with the kids for a while, and then tonight, after they go to bed, I'll be back with some historic, and we're gonna continue our Morrowind playthrough this evening. So again, a little bit every morning and every evening for the time being. So, peace, folks. I'll catch you around later. Stay safe out there wherever you're at in the world.